Today's show is going to be fantastic. We've got Eric Mitchell back on. He was on a couple weeks ago. He is a tour de force. He's got lots of energy. He's the most connected loan officer in America. In fact, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull up a slide on Eric. And let me show this to you all. Give me 1 second here because I think this is interesting. So Eric Mitchell is the most connected mortgage professional in America 6 years in a row, according to the National Mortgage Professional magazine. That's pretty interesting. And we heard from him last time how he did that, right? Which is he is tenacious and enigmatic and ferocious in terms of how he builds relationships and contacts, and he's been kind enough to come on this show and share his perspective. He's a 21-year industry veteran, which means that he has seen the cycles of the ups and downs. This is not the first challenge in terms of the market that he's been through. He's actually got an upcoming book coming out, which is fun, The Why of Money. And so we've got some information on screen right now. So please check out Eric. He'd be happy for you to connect with him. And I am going to actually bring him on screen right now. So Eric, why don't you say hi to our agentpreneurs?
Hey, Randy. Hey, agents.
Fantastic, fantastic. Eric, thanks for joining us again. You're always so gracious with your time. I think, I covered in some of the headlines today. There's a lot that's going on right now, isn't there? So What I'd love for you to do is we're going to get into some real tangible advice with what our agents should be doing today and how they should be advising their clients, their buyers and their sellers. But if you could, let's start by getting your reaction to some of the announcements from today.
Yeah, so there's been some predictable outcomes, if you look at how our industry is structured, but there's also a lot of uncertainty in the markets. And that's what's really causing the frustration in the mortgage industry is there's just a lack of information coming from the FHFA, the Federal Housing Finance Agency Administration. And so that's the organization that governs Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. The head of that agency is just, he doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, he just absolutely doesn't have a clue as to what he's in. He is so far in over his head, and our industry is lobbying very aggressively to have him terminated quickly for all of our sakes because he's not understanding the domino effect. And this latest example, he announced that all homeowners don't need to worry about lump sum payments, right? And so that's a great soundbite. It sounds amazing. Okay, so I put my mortgage into forbearance, and so that means my April, May, June payments I don't have to make. And so then on July 1st, I have to make 4 months worth of payments. And so he's come out saying, nope, you do not have to do that. Well, okay, I mean, that's great, but that means that either somebody's got to do a loan modification, right? And so now you're pushing the cost of staffing onto mortgage servicers to rewrite mortgages in the millions of mortgages to be rewritten based on loan modifications, based on no qualifications of any kind whatsoever, which has a dramatic impact on the secondary market of pension funds and investors in mortgage-backed securities. So there's no buyers of mortgage-backed securities because they don't know what kind of bond payment they're going to get. And so now the Federal Reserve is the only buyer of mortgage-backed. So I know this sounds complicated, but there's this huge domino effect happening in the mortgage industry. And so what's relevant to realtors and what's relevant to consumers is a couple of things. Number one, because there's uncertainty, the mortgage products available was this 6 weeks ago, and then 4 weeks ago, and then 2 weeks ago, and then last week, and then this week. It's shrinking. The mortgage availability is shrinking by the day. FICO scores are being increased across the board. Down payment assistance is shrinking. Jumbo loan programs are shrinking. Non-QM has all but gone away. And so there's a distinct relevance as to how this has impact on home buyers and realtors. And so, yes, there's complexity, but we have to stay engaged and stay involved to understand, especially as realtors, as advisors, how does this impact your buyers and sellers?
Well, Eric, I think you're right. And I think that even though there is some complexity in this, it's important that that everybody understand this, right? This sort of downstream domino effect. So, from your perspective, what's it going to take to fix this? Because, lenders are dealing with a tremendous amount of uncertainty and they're trying to hedge and protect against that. And they're tightening credit and increasing requirements. Like, what needs to happen for this to get fixed?
There needs to be, what Wasal is going to be talking about tomorrow, the fight, flight, or freeze, right? So our industry is in that fight, flight, or freeze because there's just a lack of certainty. We don't know what's coming. We don't know what the solutions are. And so everybody's taking a path of most conservative outlook, which is very problematic for buyers and sellers and realtors. And so, in my opinion, what needs to happen is Mark Calabria, the head of the FHFA, needs to be terminated quickly. We need to put somebody in that role who understands mortgages. They understand the secondary market. They understand Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and their role in the industry. Because Mark Calabria clearly has no clue how any of that works. So that would be step one. That would bring our industry a lot of relief. Number two is they're probably going to have to roll out HARP 2.0. For those of you who aren't familiar with HARP 1.0, back in 2007, 2008, 2009, they rolled out a program called the Home Affordability Refinance Program, which meant you could refinance regardless of your equity position. And so you could refinance. The industry was just refinancing everybody into new mortgages because there was no way to keep up with the loan modification demands. And so they're probably going to have to roll out HARP 2.0 would be my guess. That's a guess currently. There's going to have to be some sort of structure rolled out as to how mortgage servicers are going to handle the no lump sum payment. It's great that you made the announcement, but there's no mechanism that exists for the industry to deal with that. And so they're going to have to invent something that's going to allow us to deal with that. But more importantly, structure back into the market. There's no structure right now, and so everybody's fearful.
No, that's really helpful. So, Eric, why don't you talk a little bit about our agents out there who are listening, and they've got sellers who are on the fence right now. They're like, I just don't know. I don't know if I want people in my house. Is this a good time? Is this a bad time? You have, I think, some really concrete advice for our agents in terms of how they should be talking to their sellers right now.
Yeah, I mean, and again, to the listeners, these are my opinions, right? So take it with a little bit of grain of salt. I'll try and support, where I've got my opinions from, but make decisions based on your individual hyper-local market. Here's what I believe to be true. I believe that most markets have a shortage of inventory right now. I believe, Randy, that when you run your data on your multiple listing services, what you guys do, you concur. First of all, Randy, do you concur in most markets there's a shortage of inventory right now?
Absolutely.
Okay. So based on there being a shortage of inventory, if I'm a realtor, if I'm a listing agent, I'm talking to a home seller who's thinking about selling their home, right? And so this isn't about persuading someone to sell their home who doesn't want to sell their home. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about somebody who wants to sell their home, but they're trying to time the market, right? And so they're sitting back saying, now's not the right time. Well, wait a second. When there's a shortage of inventory and there are buyers in the market, but there's nothing to buy, that's when you get premium dollar for your home. That's for real estate sells for a premium when there's no inventory. When there's too much inventory, prices come down. There's price compression when there's too much inventory. And so if I were a seller thinking about selling my house, understanding that when they turn this back on, so let's use California as an example, they're hoping for May 15th, but the mayor came out in Los Angeles yesterday saying, yeah, May 15th is not looking like a good date. We're probably looking at June 1st now. They haven't made it official, but whenever that is, May 15th, June 1st, whenever they turn that back on, odds are good at that moment, more inventory will come into the market, right? Because there'll be more hope, more activity. Well, if more inventory comes on the market at that time, then you have more competition to sell your home. Therefore, price compression is possible. Whereas right now, it's not. Like if I was really thinking about selling my house, I would get it on the market tonight. I'd be calling my realtor and saying, get my house on the market tonight. I want people in my house looking at it by this weekend. I'll have booties and masks and, let's clean the house from top to bottom, make it coronavirus, clean, etc. But right now there's no inventory. And if I'm a real seller in this market, it's now, right now, today, tonight. Like I'm getting on the MLS tonight. That's my.
I mean, I think we've seen that. You know, we had an old high school of my friend, a guy did 1,400 transactions in his career, has done 1,400 transactions, talking about, you know, the listings that he's putting on market, and they are absolutely moving. There are buyers out there, and they're selling for good prices. These aren't discounts. Like, they're selling for top dollar right now.
And we know there's buyers in the market because we've got tens of thousands of pre-approval packages out in the market with buyers out there shopping for a home. Like, we know there's buyers, right? They're not buying as much only because there's no inventory.
Right, absolutely. So what about the other side, right? So what about our agents out there who have buyers right now? When you talk about what's going to happen to sort of the compression in the mortgage market, the heightened restrictions and limitations on actually getting a mortgage, what's your message to agents for their buyers right now?
So then you've got the inverse effect with buyers, right? And so buyers are thinking, oh, wait a second, I'll hold out. If there's no inventory right now, I'll wait for there to be inventory. However, the challenge becomes that mortgage box is shrinking by the day. FICO scores are going up. Like right now, if you don't have a 620 FICO score, I mean, I don't.
You mean 720, right? 720
mortgage. What's that?
You mean 720? You said 620.
No, it's 620.
Oh, 620.
No,
okay.
620. Most lenders, most investors, you know, there's still Fannie Mae products, et cetera, down to 620 FICO score. Most are still okay down to 620. But that's radically different than what it was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, right? Like the box has been shrinking. Non-QM has all but gone away. So all the, you know, ITIN loans and non-mortgable condos and stated income and all that stuff is all but gone. The jumbo box is shrinking by the day. And so, you know, down payment assistance is shrinking by the day. There's lots of reasons why the down payment assistance is shrinking. And so certainly, you know, if you have a 20% down payment and an 800 FICO score, you're probably pretty good. However, a lot of people aren't in that situation. And if you're on the fence, if you're right on that fence somewhere, I would highly encourage you to get in the market right away before the mortgage products go away, for sure.
Yeah, no, that's good advice, Eric. Honestly, you know, as we sort of wrap up here, right? So your message from your perspective is, if you've got sellers, get that house listed right now, right? There are still buyers. There's not a lot of inventory. You're gonna get top dollar, hopefully, right now. Second message to the buyers is these restrictions. It's going to get harder and harder to get a mortgage, right? Because I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, you don't sort of see any end in sight. It's not like from the mortgage side of this, from your perspective, we're turning the corner and this is about to get better. This may actually get worse. Is that right?
Well, it depends on the administration's take on Mark Calabria. I mean, there's one guy that's causing this. It's literally, there's one guy that's causing this. It's not the market. It's not the industry. That's not it. There's one guy making really bad decisions he needs to be fired. And so if the administration keeps him around, then this is going to get worse. If the administration is proactive and understands what the industry is saying and they take action, then this can get better.
Yeah.
No, until the administration does one thing or the other.
Eric, is there anything that our audience can do to support that, right? So to the extent that they already agree with you, or they're doing their homework and they agree with you, how can our audience support in this effort to maybe make a change there? Because this, even though it's mortgage specific, clearly impacts all of the agents out there.
Oh my God, it has massive impact to realtors and homeowners and home buyers, absolutely. So I'll make sure that I get you a link, Randy. The National Association of Mortgage Bankers has posted a link for people to contact their local government representatives to send them emails, phone calls, letters, begging, you guys need to take action on this guy. Yeah. He needs to go. Like, there's one guy that's causing all this. And here's why he's causing it. Here's what he's doing. Here's his policies. Here's why it's crushing the market. Like, this guy needs to go. I'll make sure that I get you that link, Randy, so that it'll be in the video here so that you can post it.
Fantastic. That's great. Eric, as we wrap up here, any final parting words? Like, you're an inspirational guy, so this is all about massive action. So what are your parting words for our agentpreneurs today?
Yeah, what I'm watching a lot in the marketplace is what I call analysis paralysis, right? So like, oh my God, doom and gloom. Oh my God, everybody's on quarantine. And I hear a lot of realtors saying there's no buyers, there's no sellers, there's no, I mean, none of that is true, right? There's lots of homeowners that want to sell their house. They just need really professional, educated advice. There's lots of people that want to buy a house. They need really professional, educated advice. As a realtor, as a real estate agent, your role is to be that advice. Your role is to be that lighthouse that gives them a clear understanding of their choices and what's going on in the marketplace. And at the end of the day, what we all have to remember is, as Americans, we are all in this together. We have the smartest people in the world, running these companies and industries that we will come out of this, right? We're all about to turn this thing back on, right? There's massive pent up demand, right? We've all been living under a quarantine condition. People are going to want to buy a house, like they're going to want to get out of an apartment into a house for sure. And so there is huge pent up demand over the last 2 months of less activity, and understand, what are you doing to be ready for that? What are you doing to be that lighthouse for those people? Get out there, get educated, but don't be caught into analysis paralysis. Take action and get in front of those people right now.
That's great, Eric. That's fantastic advice. Eric, as always, thank you so much for joining us. Everyone I appreciate your time. You have such great advice. So why don't you say goodbye to our agentpreneurs today, and I'm sure we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Randy.
All right. Fantastic. So again, just as a reminder, Eric's got a book coming out this year. You can actually learn more about it at thewhyofmoney.com. I'm sure he would love to have you connect with him. He's so great at that, and he's been so gracious with his time with us as a company for years. And so, and I think, and hopefully all of you appreciate, his feedback and his perspective. It's about massive action. It's not about waiting on the sidelines. And I think in every conversation that I've had with Eric, in every scenario that we play out here, we're going to get through this. As you said, we've got a lot of smart people here. We've got this great spirit, and so we are going to get through this. And there's a lot of hope, I think, that we come out of this in many ways transformed and better. This is how we've been talking about. This is how we look at it as a company, right? We're looking at these as times and opportunities to do things that are transformational, things that we hope for all of our agents out there are going to make your job better than it is today, more flexible than it is today, so you can have more time with your family and doing the things that you want. So there's a lot of interesting things that are going to come out of this really unique time that we're actually very hopeful for, in spite of everything that's happening now. So with that, we're going to wrap the show. So again, tomorrow we've got Wissal Cotter on. If you saw her on the first week of the show, she's just got so much energy and she's tremendous. She's our Chief Operating Officer. She was the President of Retail Lending at Veterans United, and she's been with us for years now here at ListReports. And she's got a great message, fastest to the fight, about mindset. So make sure you tune in tomorrow. And until then, be safe, be healthy, be happy, and we'll see you tomorrow.